Well, Stavros Karamperidis is an associate professor in maritime economics at the University of Plymouth in the UK. He's joining us live from North Seaport in Belgium. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. With regard to the stranded containers and the goods around the world that Osama has just been outlining, is this an indication of just how effective the US blockade of the Strait of Hormuz seems to be?
Thank you very much for hosting me, Rob, and thank you very much for the question. To be honest, it's not a matter of effectiveness, it's a matter of how both sides are trying to control global supply chains. And as shipping is carrying more than 85% of the global goods in terms of volume, the person or the country that's controlling, or the opponent that's controlling that part is having the leverage power. So what we're seeing there that's been developed is that we see a power game in the Strait of Hormuz.
So are companies taking it upon themselves to try to anticipate the kind of risks that they would take going through the Strait of Hormuz by, for example, parking cargoes in ports, waiting to see what's going to happen next? And if that is the case, what does that mean both for the companies but also for the goods that are sitting in those ports?
As you know, I think it's day 60 today of the overall war. We have major delays. Most of the ports are not able to receive any goods in the Gulf, and of course that's damaging the economies of the Gulf dramatically. Because as we know from overall statistics that we're hearing, we're talking about millions. As we know that ports around the globe, they're moving a lot of cargo. And that's because of the volume, but the value as well at the same time. So of course that is causing damage to the economies that have been linked in the Gulf, but of course elsewhere. For example, I'm here in the North Seaport today, here in Ghent, and we're having a conference. We're discussing the impact that the overall, even European ecosystem is having because of that, and how the port is preparing themselves, how it's becoming a hub for receiving goods, but also military equipment if and when needed.
I would imagine that in many ways, shipping freight is the same as planes flying in the air, companies that, airlines that fly planes, in that they are only effective and cost effective if they're actually moving. And I would imagine that if those container ships and the containers themselves are suddenly docked and just sitting there, the costs are going to ramp up. What do you think this is going to mean for the shipping companies? How long do you think the shipping companies are going to be able to absorb the costs that they're seeing, not only, of course, of storage and transport or lack of it, but also, as Osama was talking about, the insurance costs as well?
As we know, the insurance cost has skyrocketed since the war in the area. The overall cost, they also have skyrocketed. It's like we're talking about approximately 3,000 vessels being trapped in the Strait of in the Gulf because of the blockage in the Strait of Hormuz. And an average each vessel could be roughly say that it's costing $100 million. So you can easily do the mathematics on that. And of course, we have out of the 3,000 vessels, 10 to 12% is containers. So we can easily see how much cargo and what kind of value of the cargo that we're having in the area has been trapped there. And of course, as you said, with the insurance increasing, the operational costs skyrocketing. And of course, for me, the most difficult situation that we have to deal is that seafarers, 20,000 seafarers are being trapped in the region. There is no easy escape for them, let's put it that way. And also people working in the port sector as well, they've been targeted. We had a lot of reports from the various ports in the region being targeted. And we're talking about thousands of people that have been stranded in the region, and we're trying to find a solution of how we can get them out and how they can solution it.
If we have this standoff that seems to be going on in the Strait of Hormuz continuing, do you think that we could get to a point where the Strait of Hormuz might become close to uninsurable, that the risks will simply be so great that no insurance company is going to be prepared to cover companies going through?
Sorry, I was having two voices at the same time, sorry.
No, it's quite all right. I'll just very quickly repeat my question. It was just with regard to the insurance levels, with the insurance costs of getting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, given the rising costs that you're talking about, but also in the event that we have this situation that we have at the moment continuing with both the two blockades, one US, one by Iran, do you think that there would come a point at which it would become impossible to insure a tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz?
I think there's a clear... I cannot see the studio, but I'm trying to answer Rob's question. And the question that you're asking me, Rob, about the insurance is that the fact that the insurance cost has increased, but a lot of insurance companies, they've been out and they stated that they're going to support the shipping sector. They're going to continue supporting the operations over there because that's the right thing to do for the industry. And we have to maintain the flow of the goods and the people in the region. So there is an additional cost, and everybody knows that, and everybody understands that. And of course, that's been reflected in the freight rates. But it seems that the shipping sector comes together and they're trying to find solutions to a very difficult situation in the region.
Stavros Karamperidis, Maritime Economics Lecturer at the University of Plymouth in the UK. Thank you very much indeed.